Welcome to Dwarven Subtlety, a podcast about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition gaming. Now, we're going to focus on tips for both the players and the DMs to help to improve gameplay. And this first episode, we're going to focus a little bit more on players, but DMs are going to get a lot of good information out of this too, especially DMs who like to help out with new players on their first adventuring experience. The hardest thing for a lot of new players to do is to create their character. So we're going to talk about the best way to create a new character using the standard character sheet. And hopefully, I'm going to give you a bit of knowledge you didn't have before. First off, though, I always want to start these podcasts out with a great story. And I actually had another one thought of, which I'll do next week, the tale of Eric and the Dread Gazebo. But while I was sort of prepping for this one, I realized there was one that was a bit better. So there's a wonderful joke online about the character attributes: strength, constitution, dexterity, etc. So all of the attributes in Dungeons & Dragons can easily be defined with a tomato. Now, strength is your ability to carry a lot of tomatoes. Constitution, of course, is the ability to eat a lot of tomatoes. Dexterity is the ability to take a tomato and throw it with accuracy and hit the guy up on stage right in the eye. Intelligence is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put a tomato into a fruit salad. And, of course, charisma would be the ability to sell a tomato-based fruit salad. Now, this is a very common, wonderful joke. Anyone who can mention in the comments what a tomato-based fruit salad is will be dubbed the Bard of the Week. I'll give some shout-outs next time we do some of these recordings. Anyhow, let me go ahead and get into the meat of the story here. So creating a new character the fast way. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my character sheet. I just went ahead and got this off of Dungeons & Dragons website at wizards.com. This is a form-fillable sheet, so I can just go ahead and click in here and put in my numbers as I need to. It's a great little thing if you're going to do online gaming. You can print this sheet out. Personally, I actually don't use this sheet. I've redesigned this sheet so it's a little bit more intuitive for me myself. I basically, I got rid of a bunch of stuff I didn't really use that much on page one, put a lot more space in for feats and abilities, just because those are things that I'm looking at regularly. This sheet actually works perfectly well for that, though, still. So I do have this area here for features and traits. It is a large area. That's good. Mine's twice as big, and it's all about size. Size matters. But on the second sheet of this, they do have another area where you can put in additional feats and traits. I basically got rid of the second sheet entirely. I have 3 sheets on my character sheet. So the first one is the front page, which goes over, this is what my character can do. The second page is my inventory, because, dear God, that's enormous. Once you get the second bag of holding, that sheet gets big. And then the third one is a spellcasting sheet, if I'm a spellcaster, which I'm generally not. I think the most spellcaster character I've had recently is my Elven Ranger that I'm playing right now, actually. Before that, I played a fighter and another fighter, actually. So, human fighter, dwarven fighter. One was dex-based, one was strength-based. So there's a huge difference in those two. So here is my kind of issue with the way that the player's handbook lays out how to create a character. So their style is that the first thing you should do is roll your attributes. Then you pick your race and your class. Then you pick your background, and then you set up your equipment, your spells, etc. And for the most part, this method works out pretty well. But there's a big problem that happens with your background and your class. Your background is going to give you skills that your class may already have. Now, if you're going for a background that doesn't share any skills with your character, that's fine. If you're going for a bard, again, that's fine. You're very unlikely to have to worry about this. But if you're playing a character like a barbarian that only has 5 skills, and then you also choose, the Outlander, I think it was, but 2 of the skills from Outlander are 2 of the skills from Barbarian, so it doesn't quite work. You have to sort of adjust these things a little bit. So that's one of the things I wanted to go over here, is just sort of changing the order. So the first thing I always tell people is that your attributes should only be rolled at the table with your DM. If you are creating a character, create the character. You don't need attributes yet. You can fill that in about 3 minutes. It's real fast. You roll your dice, you set your attributes, put your numbers in, adjust your weapons, your skills, and whatnot. It takes maybe 5-10 minutes. It's a real fast process. Now, if you're at the table with your DM, of course, roll your attributes first. Absolutely. Have fun with it. But that should always be a thing that you do in front of your DM, just to sort of make it so that you're not going to have any issues. A great example was yesterday when I was warming up for this. I did a quick warm-up run-through. I rolled a character. I got an 18, 2 16s, an 11, and a 7. The 2 11s and a 7. Holy hell, dude! That point buy system would eat that up. So that character as a DM, I'd be really iffy on. And I've had a guy roll 4 6s in front of me before. The entire table exploded. It was beautiful. We loved it. But it's rare to get really good rolls. Now, of course, the difference on this is if you're using the base attributes from Dungeons and Dragons Player's Handbook. There's a set in there where I think it's 5, 14, 12, 11, 10, 9, or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is. I don't use it very often. And the other one is the point buy system, which is a little bit confusing. There's some apps online that you can use to sort of set your points. If you tell your DM that you're using either of those systems, set your attributes whenever you want to. It doesn't matter. Because those are known systems. Rolling dice, you can get way above that 27 points really fast with rolling dice, if you're lucky. So I always tell people attributes should be rolled at the table. And I've had players who've been very angry at me about this also because even though I told them this, they didn't hear it. So they get to the table and they have this massive character that's basically, all 18s. And it's like, oh, cool. Yeah, you need to erase all that and roll your dice in front of me because I don't do it. I just, I want this to be a fun gameplay and I want things to be balanced. And I feel bad for people who actually did roll really well on, when they're alone. But if you're not in front of the DM, the dice don't count. Sorry. But the big confusion, like I said, is with the skills. So the first thing that you should do, of course, is consider what your race, your class, and your background are going to be. For the exercise today, I'm going to go ahead and create a, let's see, what was it? A Goliath Barbarian Outlander. That's why I mentioned that those things have some issues with them. I just want to go over that. The next thing you want to do, if you're at the table, once you have all that figured out, you're not writing anything down yet. You're just deciding, this is what my character is going to be. So knowing what your character is the first step. Next up, if you are at the table with your DM, roll your stats. And for this exercise, we're going to assume that I'm at the table with my DM. And I have this wonderful little thing here. This is from Wizards of the Coast, wizards.com/D&D/dice/dice.htm. So I'm going to go ahead and use this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put in 4d6. We're going to roll it 6 times. These are horrible rolls, and I'm really happy with that. These are absolutely horrible. Let's go ahead and throw up Notepad real quick, and we can... Oh, yeah, there we go. Those are the numbers I rolled yesterday during my trial. As a DM, unless you rolled those in front of me, you're re-rolling. Sorry, dude. So we're just going to clean this up real quick. All right. All right. Okay, so when you're doing a dice roll, what you do is you roll 4d6 and you drop the lowest number. So this first one right here, we're going to drop the 1. 5 plus 4 plus 5 is, of course, 14. 5 plus 4 plus 2 is it's 11. I apologize as if my math is horrible. I'm great at D&D, horrible at counting small numbers. So this one here is also an 11. This one's not that bad. It looks like that's a 13. Oh, geez, that's beautiful. That's a 10. And another 10. Great. So this character absolutely is horrible. Now, as a DM, if someone rolls dice and they get numbers this bad, I will voluntarily allow them to switch this to point-buy system. They have to use these numbers to start, but then they can adjust their other points just to make it a little bit more balanced and fair for them. So this character, he's a barbarian, but he is not Conan at all. That guy yesterday, he was Conan. This guy is not Conan. This is like Raymer or something like that. You know, he's the guy with like no hair and he's all scraggly and stuff, and all of a sudden he just like mutilates you for no freaking reason whatsoever. That's who this guy is. But we're gonna go ahead and bring his numbers in. So, of course, as a barbarian, your 2 main stats are going to be Constitution and Strength. Those are all available in the player's handbook. This is not a purposeful guide as far as that goes. If you want to have your Constitution be a dump stat, do it. Absolutely. You're going to have fewer hit points, but that's fine. But for this character, so I know that Goliaths get a +2 to Strength and a +1 to Constitution. And I don't like having uneven numbers in my character sheet. At level 4, you can clean that up, but I'd rather not have to worry about that. So I'm just going to go ahead and clean this up early. So I'm going to go ahead and put that 14 in Strength and a 13 in Constitution. So 14 here and a 13 in Constitution. Now, one thing you might notice is I know that Goliaths get a +2 in Strength and that they get a +1 in Constitution. So that should be 16, 14. But we don't want to do that yet. And I'm going to show you why. It's because we want to show proof of what we've done. So 11s and 10s, we don't have to worry about this. We'll just throw the 11 in Dexterity and in Charisma and 10 in Wisdom and Intelligence. Nice and simple, easy. He doesn't really have any dump stats. A lot of his stats are dump stats in this case, which is very unfortunate, but that's how it works. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and apply his race, Goliath. And I need to pull up my web browser here real quick. D&D 5e Goliath. All right. So Google is your friend. There is a lot of information out there on Google. This site right here is one of my favorite sites for creating new characters because they have everything in here. If it's been published in a 5th edition handbook, it is at this fandom wiki. So dnd5e.fandom.wiki or .com/wiki. Google searching basically anything D&D 5e with something after it, this site's going to come up number 2 or number 3 in most cases. D&D Beyond always comes first. That is Wizards of the Coast's website. They absolutely belong first. So yes, and they are a good site as well. Let's go ahead and adjust this just a little. All right, so this is what we're looking at here. All this information. So we're going to dump this information into the character sheet. This is what I liked about the form fillable is I don't have to write this. And we're not going to dump it here in features and traits. We're going to dump it down here in additional features and traits. So with this right here, we're going to go ahead and shorten this to ASI. Take away all the stuff. +2. Constitution. +1. All right, so we now have that in there. So now that I've written this in, we're going to go ahead and put this up here. The reason for this is you don't want to accidentally fudge your numbers, and this will sort of help to fix that. So we have that. Size is medium. Great. That actually doesn't show up anywhere in the character sheet for some reason, even though it's very important. Speed 30 feet is here. And let's see what else we have here. Natural athlete, proficiency in athletics. Okay, and this right here is another one of those. This is another place where there's a skill. So if you put your class in first, I know athletics is one of the skills available for the barbarian. So we're going to go ahead and mark athletics, proficiency. And then we're going to come down here. When you take damage, you can use your reaction to roll a d12, add your con modifier to the number rolled, and reduce the damage by that total. And then all this right here, after you use this trait, you have to wait a short, long rest. So what I do, short rest, long rest. It's a code for myself. I know what it means. It makes it easier. My goal is to make this sheet as short as possible. And actually, usually I'll go through this and completely skin this down so that everything falls on one line if I can. So like I take away when you take damage. You can use reaction, roll d20, add con, or roll d20 plus con, reduce by total. You can make this a lot shorter, which is great. Powerful build, you count as one size larger when determining carrying capacity. So what we're going to do over here is we're actually going to change this large for carry capacity, push, drag, lift. So right there, that cleans this up quite a bit, because a Goliath is half human, half giant. They're big guys. So we have a lot of information up here. We don't actually need this, but we do want to leave it because this is where we're going to be mentioning where we're getting these weird things from. You're acclimated to high altitude and cold climate. Cool. It might come up. You can speak, read, and write Common and Giant. So even though this exists here, I'm bringing it up to page 1. Common and Giant. So there we go. So we have the race finished. That's all you got to do for race. Just go ahead and go through, fill things in as you see it. So the next thing we're going to do, instead of going to class and level, we're going to go to background. And let me show you here. So we're going to go to Outlander. We have your woman, Outlander. No, sorry. All right, so we're going to go for an Outlander. I like them just because with my barbarians, I always think that they're out in the middle of nowhere. This guy, I'm going to make him, if you saw the movie Hercules with the Rock in it, there was this one guy, he was totally feral and he was totally ruthless. That's who this guy's going to be. My demo character that I rolled yesterday, he was 100% Conan. He was the big burly dude. This guy is going to be that little weaselly guy. I can't remember his name. I think it was like Darren or something like that. I can't remember. Anyway, so skill proficiencies, athletics, and survival. So we're going to go ahead and grab these. Oh, actually, I want this one first because it's going to go in that extras. So we're going to go down here. Outlander. Skill proficiencies, athletics, and survival. So, here we go. I already have athletics. And we're going to go ahead and grab survival. Now, here's one thing about backgrounds that I love, and this might actually sort of skew my whole point, is if your backgrounds are custom made to the person that they're set there for. So, with this guy here as an Outlander, I can make a case that he also has proficiency in nature. Because he's a wild person. He's from the wilds. So nature makes sense for him. You have to run this by your DM, of course. You can't just set that skills where you want them. But if you can think of a roleplay reason why it works. Absolutely. Check your DM. So tool proficiencies, one type of musical instrument. So we're going to go down here. Tools. So this guy is going to play the pan flute. Why not? He's a little nutsy. You know what? He's going to play a drum. He's got a drum he carries with him. He had tambourine. There we go. So he has a tambourine. Language is one of your choice. Now this is actually very nice. So again, we're going to go ahead and put a mountainous one. So we're going to, of course, go for Dwarvish. Equipment. So this equipment right here, again, we're just going to copy it and paste it on in here. So we want to make sure that everything has one line here. Hunting trap. So we're going to change that to a bear trap because that's what he's got. Trophy from an animal you've killed. So that right there, we're going to go ahead and put on a bear's tooth. Trophy. Set of traveler's clothes. So we're just going to do that. X1. And a belt pouch containing 10 gold pieces. So I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to put it right here. Mainly because encumbrance inventory, I kind of treat it like The Legend of Zelda. You have it in your inventory. Reach up and grab it. Great. Okay, so that's pretty easy there. Now, the next parts on here you can have are going to be like the origin, your background, who you're from, all that kind of stuff. These are great. These are absolutely great. I always prefer to write them myself, based on whatever character it is that I sort of come up with. That's up to you, absolutely, how you want to do this. So think of how you want to roll your character and do. On the regular character sheet, that information is right here. I don't find it to be nearly enough. I have massive sheets that I write out for my characters about their background, personality, bonds, flaws, all that kind of information. It's all there in my backstories, which are usually 2 or 3 pages long. You don't have to make them that long, but they're good to have. They're definitely good to have. So we have the background done. So Outlander. Next, we're going to go ahead and finally set the class and alignment, which is totally out of order of the player's handbook, but like I said, with the skills, you got to kind of be careful there. So we're going to go with Barbarian level 1. Experience points, he's got 0. This is a new character, of course. And leveling up characters is all done in the class anyway. Everything else is those other places. So when you're leveling up your characters, you just go through, and it's pretty straightforward here. So Barbarian. I just typed in Barbarian as the thing, and there it is. Wonderful. So he gets 2 features, Rage and Unarmored Defense, which are awesome. These are the core purpose of being a Barbarian, basically. That's why you're here. But we're not going to get to that yet. We're going to go ahead and set up the character first. So, hit dice. He has 1d12 per Barbarian level. Hit dice are how you heal yourself. I suppose that's how this is done. I don't know this hit dice screen very well. I don't use it, but yeah. Let's see here. Hit points at first level, 12 plus your con modifier. So we didn't set the modifier numbers in here, so we're going to go ahead and do that now. 2, and then these are all 0s. Okay. So we went ahead and set that in there. So it's, what was it? It was 12 plus your con. So that'll be a 14 hit point maximum. Very nice. And then at higher levels, so when you're leveling up your character, you can do 2 things. You can take a 7, or you can roll a 1d12. You can't roll a 1d12 and then decide, no, I'm going to take a 7 because I rolled a 3. Sucks to be you. It's a gamble. I've had players have amazing luck, and they rolled above a 9 on their Barbarian for every single roll, so they got extra hit points across the line. It was beautiful. I've had other players where they rolled and they got 1 hit point because they had no con modifier. It sucks to be a mage. Just saying. They got other things going for them. So yeah, we're not going to worry about that, though. He's only first level. Proficiencies. This right here, we're going to go ahead and grab this into our character sheet. So I always put armor and weapons first in the proficiency list. So that's actually going to go up here on top. Bam. Just like that. That's perfect style there. Nice and easy. I can read this and go through it real fast. Piece of cake. And one thing you might have noticed is with the fillable player handbook, if you go further down, the font size changes, and it keeps changing until it goes down. So what some people will do is they'll go to this last line, and I approve of this absolutely. They'll try to make everything fit on one line. Works perfectly. Absolutely. Go for it. I'm going to go ahead and clean this up so it matches the other styles. And we're going to bring this back. 1, 2. Beautiful. Very pretty. Here's my armor style, which is light and medium and shields. As a barbarian, don't wear armor. Just saying. You'll see. Weapons, basically, I can use any weapon. There's only 2 types, simple weapons and martial weapons. I can use every weapon. Neat. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and go back here. So tools, none. Saving throw is strength and constitution. We'll go ahead and mark these 2. And, oh, I forgot to set in his proficiency bonus, which is up here. So proficiency bonus, generally it's 2 for the first few levels. If you're making a new character, assume it's 2. It's never not 2. So proficiency bonus is 2. So and we're going to go ahead and set in, I believe, his skills next, which is very important. Yes, so skills. Choose 2 from animal handling, athletics, I already have it. Intimidation, nature, I already have it. Perception and survival, I already have it. So this is why we chose our skills first. So we're going to do here. Just going to go ahead and lay this out so you can see it. Alright. And then we're going to grab the character sheet. Alright, so skills I already have are athletics, so we will get rid of you. I have nature, so I will get rid of you. And I have survival, so I will get rid of you. So animal handling, intimidation, and perception are all that's left. This guy, I don't see him as being very perceptive. He is, like I said, he's kind of an animal. Even though he has a 10 wisdom and a 10 intelligence, likely I would talk to my DM and say, hey, I want to point by these down to 8 and give myself some more constitution, dexterity, stuff like that. Make this guy a little bit more balanced. As a DM, I'd say, yes, of course, knock yourself out. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of perception. I don't want it. And we're going to do animal handling and intimidation. which I kind of like for this guy. Animal handling, he's the one who takes care of the animals. He's the one who drives the carriage, or the cart, whatever, because he has a better bond with the animals than he does with people. I like it. He sleeps in the stable when they go to an inn or whatever. Absolutely. He doesn't feel comfortable in those places. Intimidation, you always got to choose intimidation, give yourself the bonuses there, because intimidation is one of those weird skills where, depending on what the situation is, it'll be determined by a different source. The player's handbook says it can be used by charisma or by strength. But I have seen many DMs say that there's a wizard out there who is casting an illusion to back the crowd away. I've done this myself using prestidigitation, and it was thaumaturgy. Made my voice booming, I made myself seem bigger, the ground was shaking, I was telling them to be gone, yada yada yada. And he had me roll an intelligence intimidation check. And dear Lord, did I succeed. It was beautiful. So yeah, with this right here, we're going to go ahead and set these in. So strength is a 5, 3 plus 2, dexterity is a 0, constitution is a 4, and these are all zeros. That is the worst character I've ever rolled in my life. Dexterity is a 0. Okay, so these are all zeros unless they are strength or constitution. This is really easy. Oh, survival is actually a 2. Nature is a 2. Intimidation is a 2. Athletics, I'll come back to, you're a 2, so athletics is 3, so that's a 5. Yeah, absolutely the worst character I have ever rolled in my life. 10 passive perception, gotta love it. Alright, let's see here, what is next on the sheet? Next up is setting up, so on the list it says equipment is next. Go ahead and set your abilities next. This is really good to have. So I'm going to go ahead and just, for the sake of quickness, I'm just going to copy this and paste it into here. So there we go. So on your turn, you can enter a rage. So I believe this is a bonus action. Oh, it's not any kind of action. It's just you're in a rage. Neat. Okay. So what we're gonna do here is, so I have a certain number of rages I can do at my level. So I can do 2 rages and I get a +2 to damage. So I can do 2 plus 2 dam. And I believe it's a long rest to recover these. Yes. So I go ahead and put these in here. It's really useful. A lot of the times I won't have this in here. I know what this is. And this is one of those big things also when you aren't wearing heavy armor. So if you're wearing heavy armor, you cannot go into a rage. That is an important thing to know there. So never take anything heavy armor with a barbarian. Nice and easy there. Advantage on all strength checks, saving throws, etc. So that 5 is actually, I think it's actually technically like 7.5 because you have twice the odds of being able to roll it correctly. So you have better odds. It's still a 5 though, yeah. Let's see here, shown on the rage damage column, which I went ahead and grabbed already. So it says on here that I gain extra damage from that damage column. And I have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. Dear Lord, that's beautiful. Can't cast spells while doing this. If you're a barbarian wizard, you're doing it wrong. Your rage lasts for 1 minute. So we're going to go ahead and put in 10 rounds. Because 1 round is 6 seconds, for those who you didn't know. Ends early if you're knocked unconscious or if you end your turn and you haven't attacked a hostile creature since your last turn or taken any damage since then. I have seen a lot of barbarians who will cut themselves to take a hit point of damage, and I had one that rolled a 1 on doing so, and he nicked an artery. He was very entertaining to watch him bleed out. Anyway. Once you've raged the number of times shown in the barbarian rage, the rages column, you must finish a long rest before you can rage again. Now, there used to be a situation in this where a barbarian who raged would take a point of fatigue. And fatigue will screw you up. They got rid of this, thankfully. They did an Unearthed Arcana where that no longer is there. They made some other adjustments to it while they were at it, but that was a massive thing. Because as a I've never rolled a barbarian until they did that Unearthed Arcana, because fatigue will screw you up. I mean, let me pull this up here real quick. Oh, neat. Fatigue is fatigued in here. Of course it's not. There it is. Exhaustion and fatigue. Okay. So, the first time you use rage, you'd have disadvantage on all ability checks, except for strength checks if you're raged because, yeah. Speed is halved. So, at the second time you rage, you're now half speed. So if you can do a third fight before you can get a long rest, you're basically out of the fight. You're going 15 feet per round. That's only 3 squares. Everything else is going 5 to 10 squares. You're gone. Disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws on the third one. Holy hell. And barbarians at higher levels can get several rages. I mean, yeah. And look at this. So, yeah. 20th level. I have unlimited rages as a 20th level, but I'm gonna die because, by the way, 6th is death. So, you know. Probably that was a mistake, I think. I agree with them. So, yeah, I'm glad that's out. Oops, wrong button. I wanted this one. Next one is the second reason you're playing a barbarian. While you are not wearing any armor, your armor class equals 10, plus your dexterity modifier, plus your constitution modifier. So I actually add a word onto this base armor class. So there's armor class is one of those fun, tricky things. So if you are naked, your armor class is 10 plus your dexterity, or 8 plus your dexterity. I can't remember which one it is. One of those, there's a low number, 8 or 10. And with that's the case, wizards, they have a 10 armor rating because they're not wearing anything. So I always adjust this to base armor class because your armor is saying what your base is. And then from there you get your pluses on there, which is very useful. And it's actually used as base armor class in a couple of spells. Your base armor class is raised by this much, yada yada. And that's a huge difference. So 10 plus that, you can use a shield and still get this benefit. So if I'm wielding a hand axe and a shield, I can get a little bit extra stuff with this unarmored defense. So 10 plus 2. My armor class is 12. My guy yesterday's was 16. So yeah, it was good times. And that's basically it. After this, we just go ahead and fill everything else in. So we have the weapons. Oh, I'm still over here. So we're going to go ahead and put in our equipment, whatever you have here. Alternately, you can ignore the equipment from your class, start with that much gold, or you can pick the gear. I usually go for a great axe, 2 hand axes, and then I got the explorer's pack for 4 javelins. Keep things simple. I always go for whatever this equipment is. Now, even when I'm rolling a higher level character, like I just started a campaign as a new character where I was sort of like tired of the old character. I wanted to do something new. I still gave him mundane equipment, and then I threw in like a suggestion of like, here's 3 magical items I'd like to have. My DM said, great, cool. You can have these 2. You can't have that one. Or no, he said, you're fine with the first one, but you need to pick between the second 2, because it was Elven Cloak and Elven Boots. I took the Elven Cloak. Elven Boots are cool and all, but Elven Cloak, I can hide in anything. It's beautiful. That's good for a ranger. So, yeah. Now, once you're done filling in all of your totals, your armor class, your weapon information, spell information, etc., that's when you want to go ahead and really set up your character's backstory. You have all of your gear, you have your statistics. When I was first going over this character, I didn't know that he had a Beartooth trophy. I didn't know that. So now there's a story there, just from that one little piece of equipment, because I wanted to have a bear trap instead of just a hunting trap. I don't know what the hell a hunting trap is, but a bear trap, I know what that is. Clamps on your leg, you're gone. That is a great thing to have in a fight. You get that tied down to something, and then you get the monster to get it. Their speed's halved. They've got disadvantage on acrobatics and dexterity. Oh, heck yeah. So yeah, Beartooth Trophy. So I like create this huge backstory. You know, from his stats that I rolled, I know that he's going to suck. Stuff like that. And it's one of those things where, you know, you want to sort of have that together. And having the stats rolled before you make your character's backstory is useful. Because if I had made this guy out to be Conan, and then these are his stats, he's not Conan anymore. So that's a big thing to be aware of. Yeah, if you roll this poorly, definitely tell your DM you're going to do point by system instead, or the base algorithm. It's pretty easy to set these up, though, as far as it goes. Now, even if this is all for just a one-off adventure, give it a bit of a backstory. That way you know how you're going to make decisions. I've had characters who my DM was out sick, so I'm like, hey, everyone, come on over and we'll do a one-off of the Tomb of Horrors. I love the Tomb of Horrors. It's my favorite way to kill players. So I had them all roll level 9 characters. I'm like, okay, I don't need a huge backstory, but give me some sort of a goal that you want to have and something like that. Just give me something. And they gave me these great little tidbits and stuff like that. And I totally worked it into it. We made this one-off become an actual story. They got the second furthest of any team I've ever had before. They got to the Moss Room. Anyone who's ever played Tomb of Horrors knows the Moss Room is how you're gonna die. It was great too. They absolutely fell into the fire pit, the one that tilts down. That was it. Other than that, the only deaths we had were purposeful, because I had them roll 2 characters and it was taking up too much time. So I'm like, you know what? Everyone kill a character. You pick. So they killed a character. It was hilarious. We made sure that they died in very entertaining ways. So yeah, stuff like that is great little bits to have, even just a little bit of backstory. Alright, now at this point, yeah, really, you should be ready to go ahead and play your character, have some fun, do your thing. It's Dungeons & Dragons, we're here to have fun, so definitely try to have fun. Well, I can hear my kids screaming in the background, so that's all the time I have for today. Join me again in 2 weeks. I'll announce if we have any bards who have answered my question correctly, and we'll go over one of my favorite topics, which is Dungeon Master cheating. Now, this is actually going to be a look into the different styles of DMing. DMs are supposed to cheat. We're rolling behind a screen for a reason. So when a DM rolls dice, if it's going to fuck up the party, they may decide not to use those dice. I am what I like to call a chaotic DM. My dice are God. If they roll poorly, I'm sorry, but the gods did not want you to kill that goblin. There's a reason for it too, and I will figure out that reason in a few seconds. So yeah, next week is going to be Dungeon Master cheating, a look into different styles of DMing. Not this, 2 weeks, so it'll be after the new year. Now, as always, thank you so much for listening to Dwarven Subtlety. Stay subtle, my lad.